It's like saying we're live.
Are we live?
That's what it says.
Yes, we're live, but I'm waiting for it to come up on YouTube.
Okay.
Yeah, we're live.
Okay, awesome. Are we live?
Yes.
Oh, okay, we're getting an echo here. What's going on here?
You need to be muted. If you've got YouTube open, it needs to be muted.
It is muted. Okay.
Is Chris open?
Yeah. Okay.
I don't have YouTube on.
Okay, I'm good. Everything's good. All right. Okay, you guys. My name is Michelle Thompson. This is Trisha G, and we are live with Chris George, psychic medium. And so this is going to be a really exciting show. I'm super excited about this. And we already have a couple of people that have logged on. Hi, Robin. Hi, Suzanne. How are you guys doing?
Denise.
Hi, Denise. Hi, Denise. Nice to see you guys.
Yeah, it's good to have a guest on, something different.
I know. This is always kind of fun. So, all right. Hi, Tim. How are you?
I'll share this on Facebook.
Okay, you guys. So this is Michelle Thompson, Trisha G, and we are live with Chris George, psychic medium. Hi, Suzanne. How are you? So we're going to just dive right into this. Okay. So you guys, this is Chris, and I actually don't remember exactly how, but I found him on YouTube on Facebook a while back. And I found him kind of entertaining. He was really funny. He was always doing these silly videos, and I would just laugh and laugh and laugh. And he, I remember one time where you like had something wrong with your thumb or something, or your hand. What was it? It was something.
My brother tried to kill me.
I would say your friend was trying to kill you to fix it. It was, and you were like screaming, and yeah. I was just like laughing my ass off.
He thought it was like the zombie apocalypse, and he was doing like field work on me, and he had a big knife, and he was trying to fix my thumb, but he almost cut my thumb off and almost killed me.
It was so funny. I think you were exaggerating a little bit because I was watching the whole thing.
It hurt a lot.
It was funny. But anyways, all right, so let's just dive into this. Chris, why don't you tell us who you are, how this whole thing got started, you being a medium, and what, just tell us your story. We got a lot of people diving in.
Well, first of all, I'm 2X, but that's a whole other story. So how I started, I was 9 years old, and I remember being in my bedroom and seeing what looked like an amoeba in my room. You know what an amoeba is? It's kind of
I know what an amoeba is.
It was like an odd shape, and then it turned into like what looked to me to be like a 16, 17-year-old girl, and she told me her name was Heather. And you have to understand, I'm 9 years old, and it scared the hell out of me. And she kind of like walked into my closet and disappeared. Now, this kept happening over and over and over again, so I was getting nervous. I mean, I was 9 years old, and I'm seeing things that nobody else was seeing, not my sister, not my mother, not my father. I don't think my brother was alive. He was a baby, so nobody was seeing these things that I was seeing. And it just kind of got to me. And this went on for years until I was about 13. And by the time I was 13, I mean, you have to understand, I'm going to be 50 next Sunday. Okay. So we're talking 40 years ago. 40 years ago, it wasn't like it is today. Today, it's more prevalent in society. If you see, or if you claim to see dead people, you're not a freak, because there's so many people out there that are claiming to see dead people. But 4 years ago, that wasn't the norm. And, I was pretty much a cool kid. I played baseball, I played football, I had girlfriends, I was a cool kid, and you couldn't be the cool kid and talk to dead people. So I remember being 13 years old and saying, please, you got to leave me alone. I want to live my life. And I got to tell you, they did. They left me alone. I mean, they would pop up periodically here and there just to let me know that they were around. What's that?
So
I didn't hear what you said.
I said, for how long? Like, when did this start back up again? You froze.
Well, throughout my life, they would pop in here and there, just to let me know that they were around. Okay. But then I went into the Air Force, and everything pretty much stopped. I came home. I had gotten married. When my second daughter was being born, that's when it all started up again. And spirit just kind of like came to me. And I remember it was like 2, 3 in the morning. I was on my couch watching Sports Center, and I had fallen asleep. When I opened my eyes, I had like 12 to 15 spirits standing right in front of me. Now you have to understand, I'm about 26, 27 years old at the time. I'm opening my eyes. I'm in my new home, and I see all these people in front of me, and I didn't realize that they were dead because I couldn't see them. I couldn't see my television. Because when I see spirit, I see them as I see you, as I see me, and, you know, I see them as whole. And then I realized that they were, but you want to know what made me realize that they weren't living? I noticed that they were all from different eras. You know, they had different types of clothing on, and I said, whoa, 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 whoa. And then I concentrated, and then I saw the television through them, and it scared the hell out of me. And then they disappeared. And then it happened the next night, and I'll never forget it. This is, I think, what freaked me out the most. I remember waking up. It was like 2, 3 in the morning again, whatever time it was, and they were there. And there was this one spirit who seemed to be the leader of them. To this day, I still don't know his name because he never told me. He was short. He had a big top hat. He had a big, like one of those mustaches, mustache. He had this big brown coat on. And he said to me, he goes, either you accept who and what you are, or we're going to haunt you for the rest of your life.
Oh my God.
For the rest of my life. That's what they said to me. Either you accept who and what you are, or we're going to haunt you for the rest of your life. And I said to him, what do you mean who and what I am? And he said to me, he goes, well, think about it. He goes, everything you've ever done in life, you've been good at, but you always fail. And I sat back and I thought about it, and he was right. I got drafted in the major leagues. Okay. My whole life was predicated on becoming a baseball player. I get drafted. 2 weeks before I'm supposed to go into spring training, I break my arm here, and these 2 fingers, and I blow it. I wind up going in the Air Force. Okay. Same thing happened in the Air Force. My first sergeant was best friends with the owner of the Cleveland Indians. Got me a tryout with the Cleveland Indians. I wind up blowing out my knee. I blew that. Okay, I'm in the Air Force, and I'm doing really well for myself. I made rank really, really fast, which, you know, isn't easy to do in the Air Force. And I got into a little bit of a little issue with 3 guys. I got jumped, and because I had 1 beer, and I happened to break one guy's nose, one guy's jaw, and 3 ribs on the other guy, they took my stripe away from me. So there I am. Once again, I got, you know, I was good at something, but I failed. So they said to me, you know, you've failed at everything you've ever done, no matter how good you've been at it. So let us teach you who and what you are. So I remember saying, I said, you know what? Okay. And I'm thinking, am I really going to do this? Now, all 12 to 15 of them turned. They walked through my living room, through my dining room, down my steps into my basement. And the last one was a girl, and I'm going to say she was from the 60s because of the clothes she was wearing. She looked at me, she smiled, and she went, I said, holy shit, I'm really going to do this. And I did. I followed them down the stairs. And that was the beginning of me becoming psychic medium Chris George, because everything I've learned, everything I know, I was taught to by spirit. I didn't learn anything out of books. I didn't learn really from other people. I learned directly from spirit. And now here I am all these years later on psychic medium Chris George. And I mean, that's my story in a nutshell.
Wow. I was going to ask that actually, whether, you know, you've just been like natural, because I know I work slightly different to you, but because I shy away from the mediumship, but I'm all self-taught. I've never been on, you know, when I hear people say, oh, I need to go on this course and that course, I'm like, no, if you've got it, you know, I'm not saying courses aren't relevant, but I think some people just naturally, and a lot of number 9s, like you were saying, I've got friends that Life Path 9 see spirit, like physical people sat next to them. And I'm like, that freaks me out, that does.
Well, you know, listen, I used to teach at a place called the ARE, the Edgar Casey Institute in Manhattan, for many, many years. Okay. And a lot of the people who taught there, they sounded so knowledgeable. And to listen to them, you'd be blown away. But everything that they said was recited out of a book. And I'm thinking to myself, do I want to learn anything from this person who's reciting? Yeah, they're really intelligent. They can memorize a book and speak on it, but are they actually good at what they're doing? And I found out that most of them weren't. And, you know, I think that's why I got such a big following over here, especially when I first started out in Manhattan, because I was talking real. I mean, I wasn't reciting stuff out of a book. I wasn't talking down to people like I was so knowledgeable and I knew so much more than them. I speak to them on their level because that's how Spirit taught me. They said, you don't want to be pretentious. You don't want to be arrogant. You don't want to be like you know more than everybody. You want to speak to people on their level, and if you do that, they're going to love you. And that's pretty much what I've always done.
Mm-hmm.
So can I ask a question? So say if you were sat in front of somebody, and does it just come to you, like if their family member was in spirit and do they just come to you just like that? Like you don't even have to ask for it?
Yeah. Well, I work really well with pictures. Like when people come to me for a reading, I do a lot of the psychic stuff. I give them a psychic reading first, so I pick up on them psychically, and then I say, "You have pictures for me. Does anybody you want to connect with?" And a lot of them will bring pictures, and I connect really fast with pictures. If I don't have a picture, I will still connect, but it's not as quick. And when I have the picture, I really focus it, and I never look at the picture. I look at the colors around the picture, and they just talk to me. And I work really well with pictures.
Interesting. Yeah.
But I mean, I could be out in a restaurant and look at somebody, hearing things and know things about them all the time.
Yeah. The only reason I ask is my father was the biggest skeptic with what I do, and he never believed anything. And do you know, it's his anniversary soon, and on the 13th of December. And he's the person that will come through if anybody picks anything up. And it just makes me laugh now because he just made out he didn't believe anything. So that probably happens a lot, doesn't it?
Well, it's interesting. My father was my biggest fan. And when I used to have a television show here in Staten Island for 2 years. And I remember we would go out to look for an outfit for me to wear for my next show. And he would tell everybody, "Oh, do you believe in psychic?" He would talk me up so much, it would drive me crazy. I'd be like, "Dad, stop. You got to stop doing that." Now here I am, he's gone 9 years, and I wish he was still here talking me up,
Well, so wait, is your dad one of your spirit guides?
Okay, this is how it works, and I don't know how you feel about this, Trisha, but I'm a big believer that your loved ones are never your main spirit guides. Do they guide you? Absolutely. They're always there to help guide you. My main spirit guides are not family. My father is there. He does guide me. He's always around. I feel him. I used to see him a whole lot more than I do now, but I feel him more than I see him now. I don't know why that happens, but I know he's there. He does guide me, but I would never consider him to be my main spirit guide.
No, I wouldn't.
I have about 10 guides. I have about 10 guides that really look after me.
I wouldn't class I don't really, obviously this is your more, mine is numerology more than mediumship, but I wouldn't class him as a spirit guide, but I dream about him. And when he first passed, it was every day nearly for 6 months. And I've been in the military, like I told you. I never used to dream about him when I was away, but once he'd gone, it was very comforting. It was never like scary or anything. So, but it just tickles me.
You say he came to you?
Pardon?
Did you say he came to you for 6 months?
First 6 months.
Did you say that he came to you for the first 6 months that you saw him?
In my dream.
That's really interesting because when my father passed, well, in your dream, see, what happened with me was when my dad passed, for 6 months, we have a beach here called South Beach, and they have a big boardwalk, and there was a certain bench you used to sit on and watch the waves. And for 6 months, that's when it's interesting that you said 6 months. I used to go to that beach, sit on that bench with my father right next to me, and have conversations with him like he was there. And then after 6 months, he just said, "You know what, Chris, you're good." And he just kind of like went away, and he stopped showing himself to me, but he always made sure I knew he was there, which I thought. Do you think
that, Chris? So I'm curious about that. Do you think that when somebody passes, that they're closer to the human realm for a little while until they're ready to
I think it depends on the person. I think it depends on the person. I really do, because there are spirits that'll pass and they have no connection to their loved ones for whatever reason. Or not. I shouldn't say no connection. There's always a connection, but it's not real strong. And then somebody else could come in, and the connection could be like over the top. So I think with every spirit, it's different.
Yeah. So Chris, we have a question. Denise wants to know, her name is Denise Marie, and she says, "I would like to know if I have a spirit guide, do we all supposedly get one?"
Everybody has a spirit guide. We might not know who they are, but they're always there. I teach psychic development class, and I teach my students how to connect with their spirit guides. You know, there are techniques. I mean, it's too long to get into on the show, but you can absolutely connect with your spirit guide. A lot of it is done through meditation. I think a lot of what's done with psychic work starts with meditation, and any psychic who tells you otherwise is full of shit. And here's the funny thing. My mentor, okay, I did have a mentor. Not that she taught me so much about psychic, but she guided me. She told me the do's and the don'ts and how I should deal with people and stuff like that. And she told me, she says, no, Chris, you're one of the best psychics I've ever been around, but you could be so much better if you would meditate. And I remember telling her, I said, you know, meditation is for like goofy people, you know, like I'm too cool to meditate. And she was like, no, you're an asshole. If you meditate, that's how she spoke to me. That's how she spoke to me. And she says, you're an asshole, because if you learn how to meditate, I promise you, you'll go from here to here. Now, here's what happened. I took her advice, and I started to learn how to meditate. I had to learn. It took me 5 weeks to actually get it. But once I did, if I tell you I went from here to here that quick, I mean, I can't even explain to you how I just jumped so down to me. You know, as a psychic, okay, as a psychic medium, I'm constantly getting messages. Boom, boom, they're coming from all different angles sometimes. And you got to slow it down, because if you don't slow it down, you can get your signals crossed. You know what I mean? You get things coming from all different directions, you can get your signals crossed. So you have to learn how to slow it down. And through meditation, I learned how to do that. And I learned how to tell them. It's kind of funny, because it's like out of the movie Ghost, when Whoopi Goldberg was like, okay, take a number. You know, you got your first, your second, your third. That's kind of how it is for me. I have to tell them, take it easy. I'll get to you. You know, you have to put everything in its own little compartment. But meditation was the key.
Okay, so I have a question about that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I tell people the same thing. I feel really, really, you know, enthusiastic or really powerful about meditating, and for many reasons, because I feel like even in meditation, you can do like astral projection, communicate with spirit guides, all kinds of stuff that can happen in meditation. Mm-hmm. But one of the things that it sounds like you're saying, I think, is that when you meditate, you're teaching your brain to slow down, so that when you want to connect, you're able to kind of like go into it like that. Is that correct? Is that what you're saying?
You're 100% correct.
Okay.
You have to teach yourself how to slow down.
Mm-hmm. Somebody asked if you're from Brooklyn.
I'm originally from Brooklyn, but I'm a Staten Islander. I'm a Staten Island boy. I came here when I was, I think,
okay.
how old was I? 8? I was 8 years old when I came here. So I'm a Staten Islander. Even though I was born in Brooklyn, and I'm known as the godfather of psychic mediums, you know, that's the whole Brooklyn thing. I'm a Staten Islander.
That's what I was trying to think of the word earlier, godfather. That was
it. Yeah. He's got that accent like that. Yeah. Right? We've got 3 different accents going. Which is really kind of funny. Sure. I got the Texas slang, and he's got that Brooklyn thing, and she's got the UK, the British. 3 different parts of the world. It's interesting. All right. Mm-hmm. So Chris, you kind of touched base a little bit about your family and how your father responded to this, but what about your overall family? Like, how did they feel about this when you started like running in the room and going, I'm seeing dead people, and you're 13 years old, you know? I mean,
when I was younger, it was, you know, it wasn't easy for my brother and sister and everybody. But as time went on, like, let's fast forward to like the here and now, to like the last 20 years, when I really came out as a psychic medium, Chris George, they've been my biggest supporters. Going back to my ex-wife when I was married, you know, to my kids, to my father, my mother, my sister, my 2 sisters, my brother, my brother-in-laws, they are all my biggest fans and biggest supporters. They push me like nobody else, all of them.
That's awesome, because mine were my biggest, like apart from my son, who's 20 this month, he's in December, my family were the biggest skeptics, but they would go and see psychics or mediums themselves, but they didn't want to think that I might have something, which is sad, but that's my journey.
I find that with a lot of psychics go through that, and I feel blessed and very lucky that my family from day one never doubted me, ever doubted me.
That's awesome. So Chris, another question. What's the worst thing that someone's ever told you during a reading?
They told me during a reading? Okay.
Yeah.
There's been one occasion where I actually threw somebody out of my house. Okay?
Really?
Yeah, it's actually a ridiculous story.
Now, wait a second. Are you talking, did you throw a spirit out of your house or a living person? A person. Oh, okay.
This guy comes to my house. I'm going to guess he was about 26, 27, maybe 28 years old. Good looking guy. Seemed very nice when he walked in. And he's like, I hate my father. He's sleeping with my girlfriend. He's having sex with her, with my girl. And I'm like, I said, so show me a picture of your father. He showed me a picture of his father. And I got to tell you, I felt like he was the nicest guy in the world. And I'm thinking to myself, how can I be picking up that this is a really good guy? And he's telling me that he's sleeping with his girlfriend. So I told him, I said, listen, I got to tell you, I feel like your father's a good guy. And I don't think he's having sex with your girlfriend. He goes, I know for a fact he is. I said, well, show me a picture of your girlfriend. He shows me a picture of him, his father, and his mother. And I'm like, I said, okay, so this is you, your father, and your mother. He goes, yeah, but my mom is my girlfriend. We've been sleeping with each other for the last 6 years. I said, blah. So you think your father's cheating on you? I said, you don't need a psychic. You need a psychiatrist. Get the fuck out of my house.
Holy cow, that is crazy.
And I threw him out. I said, I don't want your money. I said, I don't want your dirty energy in my home. Get out. And after he left, I did a space clearing.
I mean, I was about to say, he needs a psychotherapist or whatever, not a psychic. Wow.
Yeah, you don't need a psychic. You need a
I thought I've heard some things, but that probably tops it so far for me. I mean,
I've had crazy things happen.
That is definitely.
I've had people come on camera masturbating. That's one of the worst things that's happened to me.
I've had that, but let me tell you what happened. So I went to this house, and it was an empty apartment, okay? And a brother and sister were moving in. They wanted a space clearing. So me and my friend Marilyn go there to do the space clearing, and the brother and sister, they were both very good-looking people. Now the guy was gay, the girl was highly sexual, or so she seemed. So they're both flirting with me at the same time, and I'm thinking to myself, this is really just weird, I told Marilyn, I said, Marilyn, you can't leave me alone with these people. You can't leave me alone. So she's like, okay, and I'm married at the time, okay? So it was just like really crazy. So the sister says, I would like you to do some healing for me. So I says, okay. So we go in another room. We're sitting down across from each other on chairs like this. I said, close your eyes. I said, I want to meditate for about 2 or 3 minutes. And I said, and then I'll do a healing. When I opened my eyes, her shirt is off, her pants are down, and she's like, okay, I'm ready. I said, no, ready for what? I swear to God,
you gotta be kidding me.
I swear to God. And I said, no. I said, I can't do that. She goes, well, I figured I'd try to get you before my brother did. I says, well, neither one of you are going to get me, and I'm not going to do a healing on you either. Sorry, I can't do that. I've had some crazy things happen.
That is hilarious. Thanks for sharing that. That is really funny.
Yeah, that I don't really do. That's probably why I don't do face-to-face in my home. Probably a good job. I mean, I probably would have women around, but not men, because you got to be careful, haven't you? And I've got my son.
Well, I had a woman who I've been reading for a while, okay, and she's what's it called? When you curse, what is it? Oh, she had Tourette syndrome, okay? So I'm sitting across from her, and as I'm reading her, she's reaching out and touching my nose. She's reaching out and flicking my lip. I'm like, listen, you can't touch me. And I'm reading her, and she's going, I want to sleep with you. I love your eyes. I love your eyes. Could you kiss me? Could you kiss me? And I'm like, listen, you got to calm down. I said, let me give you a reading. And she's touching me, and she's getting closer and closer. Finally, she jumps up, grabs my face, and licked my cheek. She licked my cheek during the reading. I said, you know what? I draw the line at licking my cheek. I said, I can't do that.
You've had some bizarre things happen to you.
No idea.
You do attract some. I mean, the sexual things that happened to me, luckily, have been through video, or on the phone. That was still bad enough.
Right.
they wanted psychic styling, and could tell it was a guy, and I thought, I know where this is going. And then he'd start. So I worked for Psychic Today for 4 years. You know, the TV. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's a TV show on Sky, and he was psychic styling about it, but his underwear, but women's underwear. And then he starts to tell me what, and I was like, oh my God, what do I do? Where do I go with this?
Right. Yeah,
and then
listen, we run into some crazy people, but that's what it is. You know, I read anywhere from 10 to over 30 people a week. Okay. And not everybody's going to be normal. I mean, a lot of people got issues, and you have to learn how to deal with it. If you don't learn how to deal with it, you shouldn't be doing what we're doing. You have to learn how to deal with it.
I get a lot of that kind of stuff on Facebook, but yeah, I mean, I didn't understand a while back. I didn't understand how the video calls work, and I accidentally answered it, and this guy was like there with his thing out, and, and I was like, oh my God, that's it for me. I never answer video calls unless I know somebody. That's it. It's like, yeah, there's a bunch of really weirdos out there.
My block list, Michelle, is as long as my friends list, which is like maxed out.
Yeah, I got over 4,000 people, most of which I don't know. But, you know, people are always looking for readings, and, you know, people recommend me and they friend me. But some of these people are crazy. I get a lot of crazy things sent to me. I delete everything because I don't need to have it. But there's a lot of crazy people out there.
They have one chance with me when it comes to crazy. You act crazy, that's it. Gone, blocked. Yeah. Not just unfriended, but blocked.
I call it editing my life. And I put it on Facebook the other day, and I edit my life every day. If you don't belong there, I get rid of you. I have no problem doing that.
I agree with that. You have to, because you have to, your energy is so important when you do this kind of work. I mean, Trisha and I's talked about this so many times, how important it is to maintain your energy, and people like that affect it, you know?
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of psychic vampires out there. They just suck you dry, or at least they try to. And it took me a while. It took me a while to learn how to cut that off. All right. But you have to, because if you allow people to just suck the energy from you, it's going to affect you. So you have to learn you got to set boundaries. If you don't set boundaries, you know, they'll just, you know, I always say givers have to set limits because takers never do. And if you don't set that limit, you're going to keep taking. And I refuse to do that.
Yeah, that is a good saying. There's another one that I experienced. It started probably when I really started, because I didn't really start doing this professionally until I was 36. And in numerology, if you're a 36-9, often, I'm not sure if you're a 36 or a 27, I can't remember. I did work it out because I check everybody out. It's just what I do.
That's okay.
You might be a 27-9. I'll have to have a look. But I started feeling all these sexual feelings, like, and a certain person would pop in my head. So I wondered whether you've had and I was like, am I going mad? Like, it was an ex. And I was like, I don't want to think about this person in this way. And he got in touch with me, and he told me at that, I just said, look, can I ask, were you thinking about me at X and Y time? And he actually admitted it and said, yes, I could physically feel it. And now I never used to be able to do that when I was younger.
Well, that's interesting. Now, that really doesn't happen to me. I mean, I know if somebody likes me. You know, I don't know if they're thinking about me at a certain time, but I do know that there are women that like me. I think a lot of it has to do with because of what I do for a living. Not so much me, it's what I do. But I don't feel it like you said you felt. I've never felt it like that. No.
I felt as if I was having an experience with somebody, but they just weren't in front of me. And I was like, am I going mad? But I've asked, it's happened quite a lot. And I've asked the individual people and they've admitted it. So I know I'm not going crazy now.
No, it sounds to me like you've got a little bit of a telepathic ability. That's what it sounds like to me, you know, that you're picking up on people's thoughts.
I do. I can be in the kitchen. I'm like, so-and-so, and I'm not saying this to brag because it's not very nice always. It was like, so-and-so's thinking about me, but they're not thinking very nice thoughts. And I'm like, and it could be like another psychic or something. And but sometimes they'll admit what they were thinking. And so it's given me confirmation. So now when I get it, I like, really? Why are they thinking that? Like, I've been cool with them, but it can be jealousy or I don't know. People have got and I don't brag, but I do think I'm quite telepathic, because I see images, like you say about photographs. I'll get photographs flash up in front of me of a person sat doing something or whatever, or it's like a little film running.
Mm-hmm.
And that's good stuff. I love that.
Yeah, that is cool. Okay, so let me see. What other questions did I want? Okay, have you ever given anybody a message and they didn't listen to the warning?
Yes, many times. Many times.
Yeah.
I'll give you one, for instance, and this is
Okay.
this is something that I wind up being on my show that we're going to be taping soon. I remember I used to work as a vendor in Manhattan, and I had somebody who used to sell handbags out on the street in Manhattan. And this Spanish girl comes by. I'm going to guess she was like 25 to 30. I don't know. Very attractive, really nice looking, well put together, dressed really nice. But I could tell that there was a problem. She had tears in her eyes. She didn't look very happy. And she's looking at my handbags, and I hear in my head my spirit guide saying, she's going to kill herself. You could save her. And I said, no. I said, no. You can't do that to me. You can't put me on the spot like that. And he's like, you could be a hero. And that's how I hear it in my head. Okay. So I'm like, oh God. I said, well, how do I go to this girl? I said, I don't like doing the drive-by reading thing. I'm not Trisha computer. I don't do that bullshit where I just go up to people and start reading. I find it to be very disrespectful. All right. So he's like, no, you have to say something. So I went over to her. I said, how you doing? I said, having a bad day? And she says, yeah. And like really like nasty to me. I said, fighting with your boyfriend? And she goes, well, why would you ask me that question? I said, listen, I said, I hate doing this. I said, some people seem to think I'm psychic. I'm getting a message if you want it. And she says, what is it? I said, if you go see your boyfriend tonight, I said, I think something very, very bad is going to happen. She goes, what do you mean very bad? I said, I think he's going to kill you. And she told me to go F myself. She said,
oh, he was going to kill her.
How did you?
No.
Yes.
Wait. Hold on. Did you say, because you kind of blipped out there, did you say that he was going to kill himself or he was going to try to kill her?
He was going to kill her at night. So she got very upset with me. I said, listen, I said, I'm sorry. I apologize. Maybe I was out of line saying that. I said, but let somebody know I told you that. And I said, I apologize. And she walked away all pissed off. Next day comes. I'm about to pack up. It's like 6, 7 o'clock in the evening. We're getting ready to pack up. And this woman comes up to me and she says, are you Chris? And I said, yes. She said, did you tell a girl yesterday, a nice Spanish girl, that her boyfriend was going to kill her last night? I said, yes, I did. She says, well, he didn't kill her last night. I said, oh, thank God. I said, because I got to tell you, I'm almost never wrong. I said, this makes me happy. She says, he slit her throat last night. She died this morning on the operating table. So in that instant, she did listen to me and she died. If she would have listened to me and not gone there, maybe she'd still be alive today. So that's just one story of something that happened where somebody didn't.
So your accuracy is like really high.
I went freezing cold then.
Wow, that's great.
But the thing is, I can understand. I mean, she didn't know me. I can understand why she didn't listen to me. But I wish she would have.
Most people, though, if a stranger come up to them and said that, they'd think like, are they crazy or something? They're just, most people probably wouldn't listen.
And I understand that. That's why I don't like doing what I call the drive-by reading. I call it the Trisha computer, because she does what I call drive-by readings. I think it's very disrespectful because, I mean, her show is bullshit anyway. It's all fabricated and made up. But you know what? I just don't agree with it. I don't do it. I don't like.
Where she just walks up to people and tells that, I have people messaging me messages, and I'm like, I don't like it when someone just tells me it without asking, do you want to hear this? I think
I'll always ask somebody, do you want the message? If no, I understand, and I'm okay with it.
I agree.
Yes, I'll give it.
Yeah, I don't like it when people just think it's okay to just give you a message you've never asked for.
Right.
I agree with that.
Well, I've actually had spirits do that to me, like what you're talking about, and tell me that I needed to give this person a message. And I remember one time I was actually in church. My sister had talked me into going to church. I don't really go to church, but she had talked me into going. And I was sitting next to this guy, and the spirit's like, you need to tell him this, you need to tell him that. And I'm like, I am not going to say something in the middle of a church. Like, hey, dude, by the way, I got a message.
You know, I've actually had a spirit. I've actually had a spirit save his own life.
What? Wait. I don't even understand that.
I'm going to tell you. So I'm in Manhattan, and I remember I was on 6th Avenue and 28th Street, and I'm walking actually this big crowd of people. I actually put this on Facebook the other day from a snippet from my book. So I'm walking down 6th Avenue. I get to 28th Street. I see this big mob of people. I look, and there's this religious Jewish guy on his back with blood coming out of his mouth. He was having a seizure. I see him come out of his body, look at me, and he tells me, turn me over.
Oh, I listened to this.
Jump in there, and somebody says, don't touch him, you're going to kill him. I said, no, I'm going to save him. And I pull him over, and blood starts coming out of his mouth. The ambulance pulls up, and I walk away. All right, let's fast forward it, I don't know, 5, 6 weeks, whatever it was. 4 weeks, I don't even remember. I don't even know what I put in my book. The truth is, I don't remember how many weeks it was, but it was quite a few weeks. I'm walking the same place. Guy steps in front of me. I move to my left. He steps in front of me. I move to my right. He steps in front of me. I said, listen, buddy. I said, I don't know what you're used to. I said, but I'm not the guy to mess with. Let's get out of my way. And he says to me, he goes, my friend. He goes, you just seem so familiar to me. And when I stopped and like really looked at him, I said, oh my God. I said, you're not going to believe this. And his words to me, I'll never forget. He said, I'm a man of many beliefs. Please tell me how I know you. And I said, well, a couple of weeks back, I said, you were pretty much like right in this area, and you were drowning. It seemed like you were gurgling in your blood. You came out of your body, asked me to pull you over, and then the ambulance came. He says, they told me in the hospital that if somebody didn't pull me over on my side, I would have drowned in my own blood. He said, you saved my life. And I remember thinking to myself, wow. And that was one of the first moments where I said to myself, you know what? This is what I want to do for a living, because I'll never forget that feeling. I'll never forget him thanking me and shaking my hand and telling me his name was Abe, and just that feeling I got to say that, you know what, I saved this guy, and if I didn't have whatever ability it is that I do have, I could have never have done that. And you know, here I am doing something like that, and it made me realize this is what I want to do. That was one of my defining moments in becoming who I am today. And actually pursuing what I'm doing.
That is an amazing story. That's probably one of the best ones I've heard. I mean, that's incredible. So that kind of leads me to asking a question that I'm curious about. Okay, so when you're talking to these different spirits, just on your own, not doing a reading, have you ever asked them like what the afterlife was like?
Yeah, they say it's whatever you want it to be.
Okay, explain.
I'll expand on it. Okay, so people say, well, what's heaven like? What's hell like? Is heaven up there? Is hell down there? You want to know what spirit tells me? And I'd like to see what you guys think about this.
Okay.
Spirit tells me all the time, heaven and hell are right here.
In this, on earth. Space. On earth?
Everyone lives their own personal heaven. Yes. You have your own personal heaven. You have your own personal hell. So you can have 5 spirits here. Say 3 of them are in heaven, 2 of them are in hell. It's how they're perceiving the afterlife. I'll expand on that. Years ago, I was married, and we were having some financial problems. And a guy asked me, one of my distributors said, Chris, you know, I want you to. There's this guy, he owes me money. If you collect the money for me, I'll give you $2,500. I remember I went home and I spoke to my wife. I said, listen, it'll be easy. I said, he's a little twerp. I'll give him a smack. I said, and I'll, you know, whatever. And she said to me, she says, Chris, how could you do that? After all you do is help people. How could you do that? Because that makes you a hypocrite, because, you know, everything you do is to help people. Now here you are, you go smack somebody to make $2,500. And she says, you better go downstairs and think about this. So I went down into my basement, and I go into a meditation. I have an out-of-body experience. One of my spirit guides is a 91-year-old woman, okay, named Janet, and she tells me, in this out-of-body experience, she tells me, do you want me to show you what your hell would be like? And I said, yeah, why not? I can handle it. You know, I think I can handle anything. I'll never forget what she showed me. And this is something that's in my book as well. So I remember.
Wait, stop.
Yeah.
Did you like enter into a different dimension when you saw your own hell?
100%. It was an out of body experience. I think I was on a different plane. I was on a different level. I felt like I was literally in whatever my hell would be.
Okay.
And she showed me, and what she showed me was a hallway with a door at the end. And I remember it was lined with people that I had issues with, maybe I didn't like. And as I'm trying to get to that door, which I couldn't get to, they're punching me, they're spitting at me, they're cursing at me, they're cutting me, they're hitting me with bats. And I'm trying to duck, but I can't. I'm trying to go the other way, but I can't. I'm trying to get to that door, but I can't. And it's constant. And every time somebody cut me with a knife, I felt it, and it would disappear. And then I would get cut again, and I'd be spit at. And I remember thinking to myself, I can't take this. And I came out of it. And I knew at that moment that there was no way I was going to collect that money, because to me, that would have been a mark on my soul. And that would have given the other side the right to put me in that personal hell that I was seeing myself in. And I didn't want that. Now, that was my hell. Your hell might be something completely different. You know, Trisha's hell might be something completely different. I think it's different for everybody. And they showed me what,
you know, that absolutely verifies exactly what I've been told. So, like, my nephew died. He died at 8. He was like a vegetable kind of his whole life. He had an issue with his cerebellum never growing. And so he was on like breathing tubes and had a Mickey belly and all kinds of stuff. And anyways, so when he died, one time I was meditating and I saw him, and I went into his dimension that he was in. And I asked him, he goes, do you want it? And I said, so is this what heaven's like? And he goes, this is what my heaven's like. And he goes, and I said, what does that mean? And interestingly enough, I was having a hard time holding it. I kept on going to like where the Palladians were. I was like flying off somewhere else. And he goes, Aunt Shelley, stay with me. Think like a child. Think like a child. And he was
awesome.
me. And so I had to bring my consciousness into a childlike consciousness to hold it, because I kept on wanting to float somewhere else and shift. And he said, and so he showed me his teacher, he said, I have a teacher and I'm learning here. And it was this really tall guy who had some kind of thing on his head. And he said his name was Liv. And it looked almost like a painted eye on his forehead. Mm-hmm. And he said, he's teaching me everything. And then he showed me this like go-kart, and he was riding it, and he had a dog there. And he was like showing me all these things. And he goes, I never had legs. I was never able to talk. I never got to be a child. And he goes, and I'm doing that right here. And it was really interesting to me, because after I went and I told my sister about it, and she said, that's interesting. And she showed me a picture that she drew that she kept on drawing. And she goes, did he look like this, his teacher? And I said, oh my God, exactly like that. It was really weird. And so it's funny that you said that, because he told me the same thing. He said, you go where your consciousness, wherever you are consciously, is where you go when you die. Like,
I like that. I like to think that when I go, I'm going to be on a boat in the Caribbean with about 5 or 6, bikini girls with me, fishing and having a good time. That's my heaven.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I love it. I love it. I love it.
I used to think, well, there isn't even a hell. That was my thought process. There isn't even, when people say, oh, if I sin out, because I wasn't brought up with religion, thankfully, and they say, oh, if I sin, I'm going to go to hell. And I used to think, that's BS. Like, I don't even believe there's a hell, because to me, I was just imagining a heaven of whatever. I'm just so glad I wasn't brought up with religion, because that seems to block a lot of people, doesn't it?
It blocks a lot of people. Now, I was brought up Catholic, but I am not religious. I haven't been. The only time you'll ever catch me in a church is if I'm going to a wedding or a baptism or a funeral, or I don't go to church to pray, and I don't have to do that. I think you can pray wherever you want if you want to pray. So yeah, I mean, I think religion blocks up a lot of things, because people believe so much in religion that it doesn't leave your mind open to other things, other possibilities that are out there, in my opinion.
Do you believe in a God?
Of course I believe in God. I can't do what I do and not believe in God. And that's how I feel. I mean, how am I connecting with these spirits? How am I connecting, with all these spirits I talk to? There has to be a God. Okay. Now, if he's the God that's portrayed in the Bible, I don't know. Is it a different type of being? I don't know. I just know that I believe that there's something else out there. And
do you ever ask? I mean, have you ever asked the spirits like what?
They when I ask the spirits, they always call him that guy.
That guy?
Yeah.
That's what they call him.
Yeah, and I think honestly, I think they do it as a joke.
For me, I think God's I don't like throw the God word. I feel it's within us. It's within everything. That's my view on it. Anyway, I don't feel it's like
the essence of kind of like, yeah, I agree.
There's not a God in the sky. As a kid,
there's not somebody up in the sky. I don't believe all that.
Mm-hmm. I think it's more like a collective consciousness of sorts.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it's for me, or that's what feels comfortable for me. I wouldn't even read a book if I had the word. I don't know if you've read Conversations with God or watched. Well, Neil Donald Walsh is I know I'm going on about nines again. He's a life path 9, and I wouldn't read the books at first because it had God in the title. And luckily, I watched the film, and I'm so glad I did, because it was just more about him downloading this information for the books that he wrote.
Right.
But it was going through all this forgiveness he had to, like his failed marriages and how it's a really good film to watch, actually. I cried.
I love the book and I love the movie. I totally agree with you.
When he's dumpster diving with a broken neck, I was just gone. I was like, nobody should be in that position.
Mm-hmm. Hey, so Excalibur Productions, I'm guessing he's a friend of yours. He says, he said, please ask him about his experiences in exorcisms. It's going to blow your mind. So I was going to ask you about that anyway. So I was just waiting for the right lead in. So let's go for it.
So the guy you're talking about, his name is Nick Maricola. He runs Excalibur Productions, which is going to be my production company. I'm working with him to put out a show called Second Sight, which is, I've been Second Sight forever. And we're going to be, I think it's going to be a phenomenal show. It's all, see some of the stories I told you tonight. Imagine me telling those stories, but a little bit more in depth and having it reenacted. That's kind of what we're going to be going for. We're going to be going to haunted locations all over the United States. And I'm looking forward to it. I'm really looking forward to it.
You look younger. There was a YouTube video I watched of you from about 6 years ago, I think it was. I think Michelle. You look younger now than you did then.
I'm very good looking.
I didn't say that. I said younger. I wasn't giving you.
She didn't say you're good looking. She didn't say you look better.
Never mind.
Does.
I'm going to be 50. I'm going to be 50 in next Sunday. So I'm getting
you are a handsome guy.
He's a Sagittarius. That's the opposite. I'm a Gemini. Geminis and Saggies get on. My son's a Sagittarius. So no, I'm being serious. You look younger now than you did on that video.
You know why? Because I was 100 pounds heavier then.
I was trying to think of something different. Yeah, you were bigger. Yeah.
You've lost 100 pounds?
I lost 100 pounds. I was huge. My face looked like this.
That's what I was thinking. He looks so different to that video I was watching the other day.
I was a lot heavier. I've lost a lot of weight. But you want to talk about exorcism. What do you want to know about exorcism? Let me give you a little background. Okay, what I do, the Catholic Church, which I am Catholic, the Catholic Church does not believe in what I do. They do not consider it exorcism because, it's called the rites of exorcism. There's a certain way, there's chants you got to say, there's prayers you got to say, there's holy water, there's church incense, there's all that stuff. What I do is not like that, okay? I actually take the spirit into me. I break down the energy till there's nothing left, or it asks for forgiveness. If it asks for forgiveness, we send it off into the light. If it does not ask for forgiveness, we break it down till there's no energy left, and we just dissipate it. Now, I'll tell you guys a great story. Years ago...
Well, that's pretty scary, Chris.
Yes, and I've had a lot of people tell me what I do is crazy and whatnot, but you know what? It's what I love doing, and I've done 102 of them, and I did one on an Olympic gold medalist that was being sexually attacked by spirit. Okay, you know what? Picture this: somebody's being tormented, who knows, for a month or for 10 years, tormented, and they can't live their life properly because they're always being tormented. And then you come in there, you do what you do, you get rid of whatever that attachment was, and they breathe for the first time in 10 years. You know, they take that breath and say, oh my God, this is what I'm supposed to feel like. You know what that does to me? You know how that makes me feel? Like I just saved somebody's life. And I've done 102 exorcisms over all these years, okay? And all I know is that every one of those people still talk to me. Every one of those people, you know, feel like I'm like their family. They send me Christmas cards. They send me messages, you know, every year on the anniversary. Chris, I just want you to know it's been, you know, 7 years and everything is great. That is the greatest feeling in the world. Now, what I do is dangerous. I couldn't do it unless I had a team with me to take care of me, to walk me when I do what I do. But I wouldn't change what I do for anything. And I've had people tell me I'm crazy, but maybe I am crazy, but I'm successful. I did a radio show years ago with a priest who does exorcisms the Catholic way. And I told him, I'll never forget this. I told him, I said, listen, Father, I said, what you do is a Band-Aid. What I do is surgery. I said, they call me in when you fail. And you know what he said to me on radio with like almost 2 million listeners? He told me, go fuck yourself. And he hung up. A priest told me to go fuck myself. Because I told him what he does is a Band-Aid and what I do is a fix. He told me to go F myself.
Wow.
I'm okay with that because I look back 102 times I've gone in, 102 times I've been successful. There's a reason for that.
Okay, so now I have to ask you the really dangerous question about that. Any of those been demonic?
Okay, now I've done 102. So let's just break it down to 100 so we could do the percentages. Of the 100 that I've done, I would deem three to be demonic. So that's 3%. Now, if you look at all these television shows like with Zach Baggins, who's a big douche, you know, everything is demonic. Everything is demonic in his shows, okay? And I think that people hear the word demon and they get excited. Oh, my God, it's demonic. The truth is a very small portion of exorcism, a very small portion of negative entities, evil spirits, bad spirits are demonic, a very small percentage. So what you see on TV pretty much isn't real, as far as I'm concerned.
So going back to, I've got a question. Going back to, like, say that athlete, the Olympic athlete, or whoever it was that had this, was getting put, possessed, or whatever. How do they get possessed? How did that happen?
She never got possessed. The spirit was in the home, and when she would go to sleep, it would touch her breast. It would touch her down there. It would actually enter her where she would feel it entering her. But she never, ever became possessed. It was a spirit in the home. I
see. In the property, right.
Of the 102 exorcisms I've done, I would say about 80 of them were not possessions of people, but spirits in the home or in the business or in a place, not attached so much to the person.
Right.
And the thing about people that get possessed, there are certain types of people that become possessed. Now, a lot of people don't like when I say this, but I really don't give a damn because I'm telling the truth. The largest percentage of people that get attachments or get possessed have different types of issues, meaning they could be alcoholics, they could be drug addicts, they could be addicts of any sort. They could be a gambler, a sex addict, whatever, where they're giving their constitution away and they're not as strong as they should be. They're leaving a little piece open where a spirit could attack. And negative loves negative. Negative feeds off of negative. So if you're going to go out there and you're going to be a sex addict or you're going to be an alcoholic or a drug addict and you're going to feed that addiction, that negative spirit, should it attach to you, is constantly feeding off of that energy. And it's always getting stronger and attaching more. Okay? So those are the type of people that unfortunately a lot of times get the attachments.
Yeah, I experienced a situation in the summer where there was, she was 22 and she was a young girl from Slovakia, had come to work where I live. It's a seaside resort. And she was staying with the people above us. And I'd sort of, befriended. She seemed like a nice girl, but it turns out she got talking to one. I did bit of a mini reading. Maybe she needed to hear it or whatever, but she, you know, it just happened. And she would confess then she'd ordered cocaine. And I was like, oh, this girl was 22. And I'm thinking, this is like my daughter. She could have been my daughter.
Right.
And I thought, well, I can't just tell her you can't do that. But we got chatting and she's like, oh, I'm going to cancel it. Like, and I'm like, yeah, I think that's a really good idea because it's going to ruin, you know, trying to do it. And then we had her leaving do, like just having drinks, and they made her a meal, and she'd come back, and I think she'd been doing cocaine. Mm-hmm. And that night she just went crazy and mental and started attacking everybody. It was awful. Mm-hmm. I was sick for, what was it, Michelle, about 3 or 4 weeks after that? I was so sick with my throat. Like,
yeah, that makes sense to me. Listen, I did the worst exorcism I've ever done. It was here on Staten Island, actually, and it took 17 hours. And I was pretty much in trance for, I would say, of the 17 hours, maybe 14 of the 17 hours where I was fighting the spirit. Now, it got so bad that I had flu-like symptoms for 7 days afterwards. The people that were there with me, just in the room, they all had flu-like symptoms for 2 and 3 days each. And they weren't even experiencing what I was experiencing. They were just in the energy of what I was experiencing. Okay? Yeah. So it can happen.
Yeah, because she got arrested on my kitchen floor. It was horrendous. Like, I've never, touched wood, I've never been arrested. God, and she was arrested on my kitchen floor. So I guess I was at the forefront of it all. And I'm like, I was so sick for about 3 or 4 weeks after that. It was mainly in my throat, and I couldn't work. And yeah, that was a big lesson. But, you know, I guess if I hadn't have gone, it's not somebody who I'd have had in my life normally, but I was just being friendly. But I didn't, because I don't do drugs. I don't hang around with people who do drugs. It was a wake-up call for me, what some people are doing.
Yeah, there's a lot of negative stuff out there, but not too much demonic. But the negative could be just as bad. I mean, I've done 102 of them. It's just as bad. I mean, I've seen people, oh my God, it's unbelievable the things that I've seen. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Wow.
But I wouldn't change it. I wouldn't change it.
Wait, okay. So we need to kind of retract here, because I'm going to go back to this because you didn't answer this question.
Okay.
You said that 2 or 3 of them were demonic.
Right.
Now, you said that you're taking the spirit in.
Mm-hmm.
So how did that work, taking a demon in?
Exactly the same way as just taking a negative energy in. The energy is just different. The feeling I get is just different. It's what I find with the demonic, as opposed to the negative or the angry or the vicious spirit. The difference for me is they're very manipulative. They're very sneaky. You know, they'll show you one thing, but it'll be something else. They'll give you a vision of something that you think you have to work on, but it could be the opposite. You know, they're very sneaky. They're shapeshifters. They'll show you one thing and become something else. And that's what's dangerous about it. And I'm going to tell you something. Even though it's only been 3, to me, 3 is enough, honestly. I'd rather just deal with the bad spirits than the demonic spirits, because it's very different. And your focus has to be so keen and so like tunnel vision that you can't be distracted anyway, because if you are, it's going to get you.
Do they ask for the, you know, do they agree, you know, can you only work with people that agree to
say the name?
Well, say if like you're working with a person and they have a possession or a demonic possession, has that person come to you and said, I need help, or somebody, you know, because I was told, you know, they need to agree, because I know somebody, a family member,
they do need to agree.
They said one of my family members had a shapeshifter attached to them, and they've destroyed, you know. Yeah, I'm not going to name names live, but
well, shapeshifters are very sneaky. They could show yourself as a cute little teddy bear and then turn into a big bad wolf or whatever.
Yeah.
You know? And the whole thing about them wanting to be helped, it's the same with like when you pass a spirit into the light. If that spirit doesn't want to go into the light, what gives you the right to try and do it?
Yeah.
To me, that's being disrespectful to spirit. They're not ready to go into the light. Leave them alone. When they're ready, they're ready. Same thing with you know, with the bad spirits. You know, they have to say, like, if you're possessed, you want me to help you. I can't work with you if you don't want me to help you. You're going to fight me. You're going to make what I'm doing 10 times harder than it already is. And I'm not dealing with that. Why would I want to? Because it's dangerous. What I do is so dangerous. And there has to be a common goal. And if that common goal isn't there, guess what? You shouldn't put yourself in the situation because you're going to get bit in the ass. I promise you.
Well, so, okay. Do you have to be like, do you have to be in the room with somebody to do an exorcism?
I always thought you did. But what happened, I could tell you guys a really great story.
Okay.
So years ago, there was this kid. He was 19 years old. His family put him in Creedmoor Insane Asylum here in New York, which is a world famous insane asylum. So he was 29 years old. He was there for 10 years. Okay. I think this is the best way I can answer the question because it still blows me away today. So his parents find me and they're like, Chris, we just want you to go there and maybe do a healing with him. So I said, okay. I was a little reluctant because it's an insane asylum and whatever. And I'll never forget walking in there. And it's like a prison. They have like these steel doors that slam behind you. And it's like, holy shit. I mean, if I get stuck in here, I'm done. You know, it's scary to go into a place like that. Yeah. Anyway, I'm sitting with this kid. He was 29 years old. And I'm holding his hands. And I just knew. I said, the doctors can't help him because he's not crazy. I said, he has an attachment. And it's a severe attachment. And they were like, well, what could you do about it? And I said, the only thing I can think of is to do an exorcism or spirit removal because the Catholic Church don't like when I say exorcism, so we'll say spirit removal. And they're like, well, how are you going to do that? I said, well, I'm not going to do it here because I'll wind up in a rubber room with a
yeah, exactly.
Right?
Right.
And I said, I know what to do. I said, we got to come back next week. I'm going to bring my team with me. We're going to come here. I'm going to hold his hand. I'm going to take the spirit from him. I'm going to invite it into me. And in the channel state, you're going to take me out of here, put me in the car, and bring me to your house. And that's where we're going to do the exorcism. And that's what we did. All right? Crazy, right? So we're there. I'm in the house. I do the exorcism. I remember it was absolutely insane. All right? Let's fast forward it 10 months down the line. This kid has been there for 10 years. 10 months later, guess what? He's home. You want to know why? Because the attachment was gone. And the medication that the doctors were giving him actually worked. He wasn't crazy. He had an attachment. And once that attachment was gone, everything opened up to him. The medication worked. He became, well, he was never really normal again, but he was able to leave Creedmoor. And here he is living his life now. I don't know exactly what he's doing right now. Both of his parents, unfortunately, passed away in a car accident. But, you know, this kid spent 10 years in an insane asylum. And 10 months after I did the exorcism, boom, he was out. So that's one instance where I wasn't in the room with him when we did the exorcism.
Wow. Okay, so, but can you do it like virtually?
No, there's these people called the demon doctors. They're these two assholes who call themselves doctors. They claim to do exorcisms over the phone. I had them on my radio show. I crushed them. I absolutely obliterated them because they were fools. And, you know, they can't talk to me on this subject. This is my subject. And when they tell me that they do exorcisms over the phone, I told them, I said, you are fake frauds and you're robbing people. You have to be there. You know, there are people that claim to do remote exorcism. Absolute bullshit. And I've had a lot of people on my show that have claimed to be able to do that. And I tell them, some of them are friends of mine, I tell them, I'm sorry, I love you, you're like my brother, but you're full of shit. What you're doing is not working. No way, no how. You have to be in the energy. You have to be in the here and now. If you're not there, because how could you know what the energy is doing over the phone? You can't. You have to be there. You have to feel it. You have to experience it. You have to suck it in.
I have a really good question.
And then deal with it.
This could be very controversial, but because a lot of people do this. So these people that claim to cut cords.
I believe in cord cutting.
Oh, cord cutting. So, okay, so that
I
one.
I believe in cord cutting. I believe in cord cutting. Well, with the way I believe in it.
But I mean remotely, like you're not in the room with them.
There are so many people that do that are gifted. I'm not going to call them frauds. I won't do that because a lot of them do a lot of good work, and I believe in that. I personally
like exorcism.
I like to be there. You know, I like to be there.
Well, I think that's because you're talking about something slightly different than what she's talking about, because you're talking about a spirit.
No, I'm talking about cord cutting. Cord cutting as well. And I think cord cutting is a wonderful thing. I believe in it. I think it's an amazing thing when it's done properly. And I do know people that claim to do it remotely, and I'm not going to say that they're not successful, because I have seen it work. You know, it's just their perception that it's working. You know, a lot of times with cord cutting, it's something in somebody's head, and if they believe somebody's helping them, people's perception is their reality. Okay,
that's what I'm wondering. Yeah,
and that's a big thing. Okay, and I believe that. So in that case, that's why I say I do believe that you can do something like that remotely. But when it comes to exorcism, if it's a true attachment, I believe you need to be there. You need to see what's going on. Things change from minute to minute when you're doing something like that, and you have to adapt and overcome and improvise to every situation. You can't do that on the phone.
Well, okay, so I'm talking about this cord cutting thing because I think everybody does cord cutting slightly different. So I've done cord cutting a couple of different ways. Each way works. So, but I've done it with them where I've led them into a trance and then had them visualize doing certain.
That's how I do it.
Okay, and I can do that virtually as well, because I can lead them, just tell them, lay it down on your bed, close your eyes, and lead them that way. Excuse me, I'm losing my voice here. Another way that I've done it when is if somebody couldn't visualize it and they were having a really hard time, I would literally go into the astral plane, and I would visually look to see what is the problem and why we're not able to do it. And if I could fix it in the astral plane, I would do it.
That's a gift. And to me, you know, to be able to do that, you have a phenomenal gift. That's, you know, I can work on the astral plane, but not in that aspect, not where I could, you know, go with somebody to where they need to be. Usually when I do astral work, it's for myself. I have a hard time, and I believe you, and I believe that you can do that. Okay. In cord cutting.
I don't do it very often because it takes a lot of time.
A lot of time, takes a lot of energy, but I believe it can work in that aspect. I don't think it can work in any way, shape, or form when it comes to spirit removal.
Oh, so I agree. I was just wondering if you could, you know.
Oh, I definitely can't. It's not something I need to be there. When I do cord cutting, I've never done it virtually. I believe it can be done. I really do. But I like to be there. When I'm doing a cord cutting, the way I do it is I bring them back in steps, back to a specific time in their life. Maybe a girl was raped when she was 16. I bring her back periodically to that moment. I put her in that moment. We cut, you know, all cords connecting that energy to her, and then I bring her or him back or whatever. So I like to be there when I do, because it's very emotional. You know, they need somebody to hold them afterwards. They need somebody to be able to talk to them, and to do it over the computer. I believe it could be done, but there's something missing, because that personal touch that comes with actually being there. I think it's like, I don't think you can replace that.
Well, what about doing readings virtually?
I do them all the time. I do readings over the phone. I do readings over Skype.
So you don't have a problem with connecting with their dead relatives. Okay. No, it's just when you're talking about exorcisms, that's a whole
exorcism.
Okay, that's great. Okay, so kind of leading into this whole thing, what do you think about Ouija boards?
Ouija boards are conduits to the other side, just like dowsing rods are, just like a pendulum is. It could be used good. It could be used for bad. I've done, I want to say, 6 exorcisms directly linked to the Ouija board, and I'm going to tell you why. This is something a lot of people don't know. There's a thing called, now with the Ouija board, it's very important to know that you should do a protection before and a protection after, whether it's a prayer, whatever you'd like to do, but you should do it. That's number 1. Number 2, by far the most important aspect about working with a Ouija board, never use it by yourself. Ever. I'm going to say it again. Don't ever use it by yourself. And this is important because there's a reason. You know, when you use it by yourself, there's a thing that's called progressive entrapment. Okay? What happens is you might connect with a spirit, and the spirit will love you, and they'll give you like all these great answers and, you know, give you good information. But what happens is You become friendly with that spirit. Now, if you don't have somebody else working with you, you open yourself up. Maybe you don't protect yourself as much as you would because, oh, this is my spirit guide. I'm connecting with them. But what happens is they progressively attach. It's called progressive entrapment. And before you know it, you have a full-blown possession. And it happens when you use it by yourself. There's a book that was written in the 70s called Ouija, The Most Deadliest Game. And it chronicles this. All right, I remember after doing like all these exorcisms and everything and thinking to myself, how is this happening? You know, I needed to know. And somebody directed me towards that book. And it spelled out everything to me. And it's true. 6 exorcisms directly linked to the Ouija board. All 6, the person used it by themselves all the time. So if you want to use the Ouija board, I say go ahead, do it. But protect yourself before and after and respect it. Like it's like anything else. If you're going to taunt it, it might taunt you back.
I've just personally never done one, and I don't think I ever would. I just stay away from them.
Well, listen. Years ago, I went to this big event in Boston, and it was called Salem Con. It's actually where I met one of my best friends in the world. I remember they were doing an investigation, and they were using a Ouija board. I kind of found it comical because they're doing it and it's spelling out everything that they wanted to say. And I said, I got a question. They're like, who are you? I told them who I was. And they're like, oh, okay, we know who you are. I said, how about you put some blindfolds on and do the same thing? Guess what? Nothing came out. It was gibberish. You want to know why? Because they didn't know where they were pushing it, okay? So if you're going to do it for real, I respect that. But what I find is a lot of times people's subconscious makes it go to where it wants to go. That being said, it can be a good tool if you use it properly, or it can be very dangerous if you don't.
Do you feel the same way about the pendulum?
Yes, I do. You know,
pendulum tells you.
Yeah.
Yes,
do you think that that's dangerous to do by yourself too?
I think anything that's a conduit to the other side can be used for good or for bad. If I'm doing a dowsing rod, if I'm doing a pendulum, and I feel like the spirit is negative or giving me bad answers, I will clear myself and I will start over again. I will try and connect with another spirit. Because like anything else, it could be used for good, it could be used for bad. I always use the example, you take a scalpel and you put it in a crazy man's hand, it's a deadly weapon. You take that same scalpel and put it in a surgeon's hand, it's a beautiful tool. Okay, so things can be used for good and it can be used for bad. Same thing with the Ouija board, same thing with dowsing rods, same thing with the pendulum.
Okay, do they have to identify themselves? Like, okay, so like one of the things that I do, for instance, is when I am dowsing, I usually I do my prayer protection, you know, like you said, and then when I start, the first thing I say is, who am I speaking to?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I like to do that. I like personally, like I was telling you before the show, I like to connect with my personal guides.
So you asked to speak to that particular.
I call on my guides to come to me.
Because I got it was my higher self when I asked, like.
Yes, and then a lot of, yeah, absolutely, your higher self. But I will call on my higher self. But for the I trust my guides so much. They've been so on point, so good to me over the years that I feel like if I don't call on them, I feel like I'm disrespecting them. I know that.
No, that's okay. Because me and Michelle both did, and I asked, like, because I've used a pendulum for 8 years and I've got dowsing rods, but I've never spelled out sort of sentences. And then I asked, where was this coming, you know, checking, and it said, you know, it's telling me it was me, my higher self. So I was just, you know, but Michelle you were getting your information from somewhere else, which is absolutely fine,
actually, what was interesting, because I don't know if I explained this all to you, but it came in pieces. So originally it said the letters that were spelled out was DLAM, DeLam, and then later he said that was a nickname that he was called, like DeLam, like the Lamb.
Okay.
And
did you feel comfortable? Did you feel comfortable working with the spirit?
Yeah, absolutely. But what I ended up finding out was that was my higher self's name. Kind of like Abraham Hicks, hers is Abraham.
Right.
My higher self's name is DeLam. And there's several in that group, that collective, and sometimes they'll break off and one will speak and another, you see what I'm saying? That's the way, and it's really difficult to explain, but it's the way that it was explained to me is it's a collective consciousness. And that, so for instance, when I die, I'll go to that collective. Okay. And then, but I'll still maintain Michelle. So I kind of like get you. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
But yet the whole thing can speak as a collective, and that would be considered. Am I
I get it. Yeah.
I'm trying to, because you're just kind of sitting there. So I'm kind of like going, okay, hopefully.
No, I get it.
And the thing is I'm kind of in the same boat as you. I don't have a lot of time to read. I do try to read things that people tell me about so that I know what they're referring to. But most everything I've learned from my personal experiences or what they've told me. Okay. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't necessarily mean it's the way that they've explained it to me before is I explain it at the level you understand, Michelle. And as your level of understanding increases, then I explain it more. And so, so to me, the explanation is the higher self is not one. It's not like one person sitting right there. It's like it's a collective consciousness of everything I've ever been, everything that I am, and all the different realities that I live in, and everything that will ever be. Is that the way you see it? I don't know. I'm asking you. Like, what's your opinion on that?
Just you take this one because I just got lost a little bit.
I got lost. I was like,
okay.
I think it's just different for me, but that's
okay. So the way that I understand a higher self is that it's a collective consciousness.
Yeah.
Okay. A collective consciousness of every lifetime I've ever had, every lifetime that I'm experiencing right now, which is on multiple realities. Like there's multiple dimensions going on at the same time. Okay.
Right.
I've got multiple lives going on. Michelle's living a different life as an artist somewhere or, something like that. Okay. So all of those. And then since time runs simultaneously, everything that I will ever be. So it's all collective. So
okay.
when I'm talking to, for instance, like a specific spirit and they give me a name, it's like I'm pulling out one hair, and I'm talking to that one particular part of myself that has experienced something very specific that is helping me with this particular lifetime.
I get it. And I understand exactly what you're saying.
Okay. Is that the way you see it? I mean, this is the way it was kind of explained. And like I said,
it's kind of the same. I mean, that's a little bit more in depth, but yeah, I would have to say yes.
Okay.
It's very confusing, honestly, but
it is confusing. I ask a lot of questions all the time. I'm always like, okay, explain that to me. Try it again. Say it again. I don't understand.
I'm the wrong one to ask that question too, because I literally, like I told you, I think yesterday, I deal with the spirits. I deal with the dead. I deal with, people come to me. I don't really use my higher self. I literally use my guides. I feel so connected to all my guides that, like I always say, I would feel like I'm disrespecting them if I didn't use them. So I always go with my guides. I don't really call on my higher self.
And I actually like that because to me, it's kind of like, these are your friends.
They are my friends. They're my family. They're my whole family.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, I do have guides that are not my higher self and that I work with as well. And I feel like they're kind of like your friends, and
100%.
you feel a certain kind of connection to them. And that gives me a sense of comfort. But that's kind of how I am, but
I'm very close with my guides. And then I have one guide. His name is Edward Pace. He's with me all day, every day. And he will chat, yap in my ear every now and then, even though he knows he's not supposed to. He breaks the rules, but I'm very, very in tune with all my guides.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Do you, what about you, Trisha? Do you have any other questions that you want to ask him?
Well, I'm very confident. I don't know how much time Chris has. I'm very Like,
yeah, I got to get going kind of soon.
Yeah, I got that. I just got the vibe that he probably has to get going soon. So, I mean, yeah, I'd have other questions, but no, I think that sort of
we could do this again.
We could do this again because that's covered quite a lot. And there is one question. Someone said, like, say if you came on, could you do readings or mini readings from people in the chat?
I haven't done readings on a radio show in a long time. I had a radio show for 10 years. I had up to 1.7 million listeners every Thursday night. Okay. I had a huge show, and I would do a show a week. Okay. For 10 years. And in 10 years, I probably did 20 reading shows. I don't like doing shows like that.
Okay. That's okay.
I mean, I'll do it. I mean, I would do a couple readings. Absolutely. It's not something I love doing.
So somebody
I'm going to explain to you why. Because I do between up to 30 to 40 readings a week. You know, for me to come on the radio and do more readings, it's just like, okay, I'm done.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where I'm coming from.
Perhaps you could show us an example next time or something where we could get a photograph that you could work with and just do one to give an idea of how you work. Because people could be watching this and then think, well, I want to connect with Chris. And so I would say, like, do you have a YouTube channel? Or
I don't have a YouTube channel yet. It's coming. My Facebook, I use Facebook for everything. And on Facebook, I'm C George, CEE George. They can get me on there. You know, anybody could friend me. I'll friend you. Let me know that you saw me on the show. You were interested, and I'll friend you. Yeah,
because that's what I was thinking. If anybody wanted to connect with you,
that's exactly. I was gonna say that. So So repeat that again. How do people connect with you? They've connected with you through Facebook.
On Facebook, I have my fan page, which is Psychic Medium Chris George. Just give it a like. Or my personal page is C George, CEE George.
We can put that in the description because I'll put this on my channel as well. Like now we've got this new Premiere tool. I can show this as a live broadcast, which is cool. And we can put the links to contact you.
So I'll get the link and I'll put it on my page as well. And I'm sure we'll get a lot of views on this.
I was going to say I download it onto Facebook as well as an MP4. So yeah. So that'd be cool.
I just put it in the chat room as well. And I can also copy the link and put it in the chat room as well. So so this has been really interesting, and I can continue talking and asking a billion questions. I mean, we haven't even gotten into a lot of stuff that I'm curious about.
Like I said, we could do this again. I have more questions, and I have no problem answering.
I mean, I would love to know about haunted houses. I mean, there's just a ton of stuff that we could.
Well, you want to know about haunted houses? When my show comes out, Second Sight, it will be all over Facebook.
Okay, so wait, let's talk about that for a second. So you're about to do
tape a pilot episode.
A pilot episode. Okay.
And we're going to do that, and we're going to get it into some of the film festivals. You know, hopefully win some awards, and then we're going to, put it out there. Maybe get it on Hulu or Netflix, or get it on God willing, a network, and take it from there.
Well, are you gonna put it out there like on like Facebook or YouTube or something?
Facebook is my website. Everything I do will be there. If I'm teaching a class, it's on Facebook. If I'm doing a psychic event, it's on Facebook. Everything is on Facebook. And it's all on my personal page, not so much my fan page, because I get way more, even though I got over 8,000 fans on my fan page, I get a lot more action from my personal page.
I found exactly the same thing. I don't even, I've got a like page and I was getting virtually no activity. I do it all on my main
personal. I do the same thing. Personal. If somebody wants to get a reading from you and they're not in the same city as you can do it virtually, and that's not a problem.
We could do it on Skype. We could do it on phone. We could do it on Facebook Messenger. I don't have an iPhone, so I can't. I have an Android, so I can't do FaceTime. But we could do Messenger FaceTime. We could do Skype, and we could do a phone.
Yeah.
Okay, that's awesome.
Do you have a website?
I don't. Like I said, I got rid of my website. I find that Facebook works best for me. By far.
I'll be honest. I've got the most probably advertising until I started to build my YouTube channel, but I do it on both, like Facebook. I've probably got more activity than through my website as well. I agree.
I mean, I'm sure
I get a lot of activity from Facebook, and when I kind of stopped doing as many videos on Facebook, I've just noticed that people were like, "Hi, when we've missed you doing the videos."
And it's free.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, this show is great, and I think you're both fantastic hosts. And listen, I've been on a lot of radio shows. I've done a lot of radio shows. I've been interviewed by some really shitty hosts, honestly, that had they couldn't form a sentence or whatever. You guys, you're very, very good.
Oh, wow. Thank you. Really appreciate that. Oh, that's awesome.
And Michelle, especially, you've been my friend a little bit longer. I don't sugarcoat shit. I always say, you want some sugarcoated, go buy a donut. You want the truth, ask me. If I thought you sucked, I wouldn't say anything. But you guys are very good. You got a nice rapport with each other, and your show is very good.
Well, thank you. We really appreciate that. We just recently started talking about bringing people on, and what we've been doing is kind of like just trying to help people raise their consciousness and trying to do things that makes people feel good. But we've been talking about bringing guests on, and kind of,
maybe next time we'll do it on my channel, because then there'll be people that won't have seen you. We alternate it every week, you see.
Yeah, we do. We alternate.
Whatever you guys want, you let me know, and we'll set it up, and I would gladly do this again.
Awesome.
Oh, so sweet.
I think that'd be a good time to end the circle.
This has been fun. It's been really fun. It's my favorite subject, so I love it. I love hearing other people's stories, because I feel like I'm not the only weird one in the room, And
that's what I always said about my radio show. What I loved most about my radio show was it was a place where people could come who can't talk about this stuff with their friends, with their freaks, But here you have my radio show that had like all these millions of people listening, and you were just another person in the group. You were just as weird or normal as all of them, and you learn something every single week, and that's what I love.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us.
And, we've had lots. Thank you, everybody that's joined us, and it's nice to see some new faces. I've subbed the new people like Paranormal Wales and Excalibur Productions. Obviously, I've subbed your channels, so yeah.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
Chris, hold on for a second. Don't leave. Okay. I'm just going to stop the stream. You guys, thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate it. I love you all so much. And make sure that you hit the like button, please, please, please. Remember, it does help our ratings. You guys just hold on for a second, okay?
We'll see you next Monday on my channel.
Yes, ma'am.